So, like usual, Trump is more focused on his reelection and not so much focused on trying to get people the relief that they need. So, if anything, he gets a C for stimulus. Trying to think. There's a bunch of other things. But what now I want to, I just wanted to name a few. Now we're going to go into the things that are he fails at miserably. Immigration. A lot of hypocrisy there. His wife Melania, she's an immigrant. Her family's an immigrant, and they were using chain migration. And for Trump to eliminate that on other people when he's used it himself, it's not being a leader. And then for him to lie about things so he doesn't get criticized is not very presidential. I mean, I could go on and on. I do believe the rumor of the suckers and losers, him saying things behind closed doors, because I feel like when McCain there, back in 2015, calling McCain a loser when he got captured and was a POW, and for Trump to say that when he's never served in the military himself, and for him to make a comment like that toward McCain and say he's not a hero is, as a veteran, to me, it's horrible. Back in 2015, I couldn't support somebody like that. Now, keep in mind, too, with Trump, I used to like Trump back in the 80s when I was a teenager. And you could go on YouTube yourself. You could find old videos of him being on Larry King Live. And in fact, there's a 1987 video interview with him talking to Larry King. And he spoke more like a leader than he does now. And I think what happened was, when he was contemplating to run for the presidency back in the late 2000s, and he didn't know where else to go, and he started befriending the wrong kind of people. What really started what made him be a turnoff to me was the fact he started going down the racist route, the birther comments, demanding Obama produce a birth certificate. And that to me was a big time turnoff. In 2009 we're talking. And if Trump would have researched it, took the time to research like he does his real estate and everything, he would have found out that in order to run for president, that stuff is all vetted before you can even submit paperwork to run for president. It's already vetted. And for him to go and make a demand like that to the previous president, it's kind of insulting, And it'd be like saying it'd be like Obama saying, hey, produce your birth certificate, Trump. And of course, Trump would shrug it off. But I think Trump is an old style attitude, an old style guy, stuck in a different time period, and that's his downside. His attitude, the way he sees things, it's so outdated that the base that really appeals to him, or that appeal to the base that supports him, is around his age demographic. Even people in my age group too, and so yeah, I mean, I think his rhetoric is his downside. His base is shrinking. I'm willing to predict in like 20, 30 years, like you mentioned Ronald Reagan, unless you grew up in that era, you talk to people that are under 20 years of age, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, he was the president of the United States," but they're not going to know anything about Reagan and what he did. So I think that's going to be the same thing that's going to happen to Trump. Trump's going to have a horrible legacy, like next to Bush. But now history is a little more kinder with Bush. But I think when the historians bring up the wars and everything, that's still going to be a stain on Bush 43's record. But you look at the other things that Bush did, he at least showed compassion. So I have to say Republican president, I say W. Bush is probably the last great Republican president. And then you get the Trump, and he just transformed it into a different kind of radical Republican Party. So in terms of Trump, I feel like he's a mixed bag. I used to be a Republican a long time ago, and then I left because of Bush. But if it wasn't for them comments and the rhetoric, I think, and not so much twittering, I think Trump he'd be a lot more popular. I think if he would have took dealing with the virus more serious, I think he would have, by now I think we'd probably be through it, If he would have handled it, I think, a little better like Obama and Biden, and listened to his team and everything, and not let his ego do the talking, I think Trump would be a little more successful than Obama, I think. But I think every president, even good ones like Clinton and Obama and Reagan and JFK, they're human beings. I mean, they have their upsides and their downsides. So I say overall, I give Trump maybe a C+ for his first term. But it's not enough for me to want to vote for him. So, but we're going to go to Pence now. Now, what I like about Pence is he's more of the has the calm demeanor. He's seasoned. He's been in the trenches. He has a better sense of humor. And humor is a must in politics. Because if you can't handle being picked on and teased and everything, and Trump should have known this, he's going to get picked on. And that's one of his downsides. He used to have a sense of humor. Go on YouTube, you look at his stuff from 2015 and older, and he's a different kind of person. And then one day as I say, power corrupts people. It changes them. Just like money, Power and money go hand in hand. It can be good for us, or it can bring the worst out of you or the good in you. So, but with Pence, he seems like a good-natured guy. I see his debate performance in 2016 and 2020. He seems to handle himself very well. He's very faithful to his wife. He's a good, loving man, and he's got the morals and everything. But I'm not looking at that. What I'm looking at is his policies. And once again, he's old school Republican from the Bush era and Reagan era. But when Trump got in, he transformed all that. So I think one of the main reasons that Trump went with Pence is because he needed an inside guy to get him in, So it's kind of like Bush went with Cheney, W. Bush went with Cheney, Obama went with Biden. And it makes perfect sense because if you're a leader, you're not going to know everything. You know, you could have the highest IQ, but you're not going to know everything. So I think Pence's plus sides are he's got morals. He he's calm. He has a calm demeanor. He sticks up for what he believes. But his downside is sometimes the good that he does, sometimes sticking by the bad characters brings him down. But I would have to say I rate Mike Pence better than Trump as a. I think I think if Pence and Trump were running against each other, I think Pence would win in the debate. In terms of conservatives, he would win the conservative vote over Trump. The ones that defected, they would probably come back and say, "Oh, we got a normal conservative." So, yeah, I mean, I just think sometimes I think the Midwest produces good leaders. I think whether they be on the Republican side or the Democratic side, it's just the area that people grew up in, the values and everything. So, basically, I'm going to elaborate on the other two candidates in the second part. Stay tuned.